We are doing all we can do to investigate the Till murder. We have made a complete investigation and plan to go as far as possible in the prosecution of the case. I may add that we have had the full cooperation of all the white and colored citizens of Leflore County.
It's my opinion that the guilt begins with Mrs. Bryant, and I want to see Mrs. Bryant punished, her husband, and any other persons that were in on this thing. And I feel like the pressure should start from the President of the United States and be channeled all the way down to the township of Money, Mississippi. And I'm certainly of the opinion that inasmuch as my son had to die, that I don't want his death to be a vain thing. If it can further the cause of freedom, then I will say that he died a hero.
To the President of the United States, Mr. Dwight D. Eisenhower, White House, Washington, D.C. Honorable Sir, we, the undersigned women and mothers and members of District 1, UPWACIO, call upon you, President of the United States, and your Congress to enact federal anti-lynch and anti-poll tax legislation immediately. The brutal lynching of Emmett Till, one of the most barbaric atrocities committed against a child in the history of mankind, demands prompt federal intervention for the prosecution of all persons responsible for this heinous crime. We strongly urge you, Mr. President, to call a special session of Congress in order to recommend immediate passage of federal anti-lynch and anti-poll tax laws. Only in this way can we be assured that other Negro Americans will not meet a similar death. Responsibility for federal safeguards against lynching rests with the President and his Congress. The lynching of Emmett Till demands immediate recognition of that responsibility.
The headlines began to appear that Emmett Till's mother would attend the trial. And when that message made headlines, people began to send me mail by the bushel. Dirty pictures, pictures of male organs on the newspaper that they were sending me. And sometimes it was very difficult to read the article. And then they would write different stuff on top of the print, such as bombing my house and Mayor Daley's house if I attended that trial. And my son got just what he deserved, and there was another nigger gone.
This is Mrs. Alma Spearman, the grandmother of Emmett Till. Have you had any letters, telephone calls, things like that?
A number of letters and many telephone calls.
What do they say?
Well, they threaten us with the words of like niggers and savage or uncivilized people, or people that want to be ornery and want to press our charge, whether it be right or wrong. We've even been threatened that our house would be bombed.
I think this is one of the worst and the brutalest incident ever happened in Mississippi since I've been here. And the colored people is awful depressed over it.
It was because it was a boy that they went there. They had to prove that they were superior. They had to prove it by taking away a 14-year-old boy. You know, it's in the virus, it's in the blood of the Mississippian. He can't help it.
I'd like for the NAACP or any colored organization anywhere to know that we are here giving all parties a free trial and intend to give a fair and impartial trial. and we don't need the help of the NAACP, and we don't intend for them to help. We never have any trouble until some of our southern niggers go up north and the NAACP talks to them and they come back home.
There were little jars for people to drop money in stores, in the drugstore, and the dry cleaners, and commercial places in the town of Sumner for the defense of the two men accused of the murder. And I must say it was a strange, eerie feeling and very uncomfortable feeling to see these little jars of money being collected to defend two men who, it seemed, understood were the murderers.
What are the exact charges brought against Roy Bryant and J.W. Milan, Mr. Chatham?
The formal indictment is that they did willfully, unlawfully, feloniously, and of their malice aforethought, kill and murder Emmett Till, a human being.
Is there any other charge brought against these men, Mr. Smith?
Yes, charge of kidnapping.
Is there any further description of that charge?
No.
What possible penalty under the law is there in this kidnapping case?
It could carry the death penalty just as the other.
Me and Moore Wright went to the trial. So when we got there, he went in, and I got about 10 feet from the door. So I see I couldn't get in, and I walked over to where Milan and Bryant was. And Bryant said, "John, I didn't do it. Milan done it." I said, "Well, somebody done it." He said, "Milan done it, John. I didn't do it."
The atmosphere in the courtroom at that time, there was like a lot of talking and a lot of excitement. And people coming in and out, especially the day that Mamie showed up. Everybody, the reporters were running and hollering that Mamie Bradley is here.
What do you intend to do here today?
To answer any questions that the attorneys might ask me to answer. To the
How
best.
do you think you could possibly be a help to them?
I don't know. I mean, just by answering whatever questions that they ask me.
I see. Do you have any evidence bearing on this case?
I do know that this is my son.
I remember the first day of the trial. Every window was filled with a father and his son or sons. And as I would come up the steps, they would aim the guns at me, and they would pull the triggers, and the little caps would pop, and they would say, "Bang, bang, bang." And the fathers, they thought this was the cutest thing. And the little guys were just firing away. Well, you know, the hair on my neck and down my back was just standing straight. It was a frightening experience.
The reporters who were there were shocked and kind of astonished at finding this situation in which it seemed that everybody, the people in the town, knew that these men had murdered this Negro boy. That, of course, was the term at the time. And at the same time, they did not want the murderers to be punished. I mean, that was the sort of the civic attitude. There was great hostility to the reporters who were, as the local people put it, making a big thing of this.
The highlight of the trial so far has been the dramatic testimony of Uncle Mose Wright. In court, he dramatically pointed at the two defendants, Roy Bryant and J.W. Milan, and said that they were the two men who came to his house on August the 28th and took the boy away. Old Mose said he never saw the boy alive again.
It may have been one of the most moving moments of the trial when Moses Wright stood as straight as an arrow and spoke clearly and firmly his testimony that indeed these were the men who had taken the boy from his house.
He stood up, he pointed his fingers at him, said, "That's him," which pointed at Mylon. And that was, oh my, that was quite a moment then. Because you had the grabs, you had the people rumbling and grumbling, and we later found out that blacks didn't do that in Mississippi.
He was willing to put himself at risk. He was not going to lie. He was not going to back down. He was not going to be intimidated. And you had to really admire the courage of somebody who, despite being brought up in that culture, and a culture really of slavery, would defy the mores by insisting on telling the truth.
You got to remember now, back in those days, it was suicide almost for a black man, a black person, to go in a courtroom talking about testifying against a white man, because the whole court was white.
Ruby Hurley, Amzie Moore, and Medgar Evers at the trial. They came to the trial every day. Sometimes Amzie Moore and Medgar were out looking for witnesses, or Medgar was busy escorting Moses Wright to and from the courtroom safely because his life was being threatened every minute.
Medgar was the one who actually was on the scene and went to money and went to places trying to get information on it. Now Ruby Hurley, this is not going to think nice from Rudy, because Rudy, like most of the big shot NAACP folks, they sat back in their outer offices in Atlanta and New York and did nothing but direct. But Amzie Moore joined Medgar and went and investigated, and they're the one who were taking all the chance of being killed themselves.
The defense attorneys have told us that the new state witnesses, whom they have also questioned, will talk about hearing drones from a shed. Is that correct?
Yes, they will. Will that definitely establish the time and the place of the actual crime? It won't establish the time and place of the actual murder, but it will connect the defendants with the crime.
Did any of these witnesses see the defendants at the scene of the shed?
Yes, one of them.
When they called me to take the stand, and I took the stand, and then they asked me these questions, about about the one that did the murder, did the killing. Do you see do you see him in court? I said, yeah. Which is in here? I said, yeah. He said, would you go there and point him out? This is Mylon, and this is Brian. They were sitting right there.
What they did to me when I was on the stand was just unconscionable. They tried to make me confess that I had conspired with others to get double indemnity on Emmett's 5-cent and 10-cent policies.